So the move I've selected to teach you guys is a lightsaber spin. There's not really a certain name for it. I like to call it basic spin with a twirl or X spin with a twirl. So you're just going to start off, you get a lightsaber, a sword, or a stick, anything that works. You're just going to hold it in your right hand or your left hand, whichever works. I'll teach you both ways. I prefer right hand, so we'll start with that. You got your basic spin right here. You're just going to start with that. You let it twirl nice and easy through your fingers, through your thumb. Let the weight of the blade and the momentum do pretty much all the work. You shouldn't be thrusting your wrist at all. Just let the blade fall nice and easy. So once you got the basic spin down, you're going to go into the X spin, which creates a nice X all the way across your body, like this, okay? So you got your basic spin, you go into the X spin. So you want to lead with the point of the blade. You're going to do your basic spin and cross over. You're going to take your point and cross all the way down as if you're putting it in a sheath, but not quite. You're just going all the way across like that. So you go basic spin, across. Basic spin, across. So just work with that, one solid motion. And once you're across over here, you're going to bring it back up, over. This is all with one hand. This hand's not being used at all. So you got basic spin, cross, and up. Alright, so once you're right here, this is where you get your other hand involved, okay? So as it comes up right here, you come across and up. You're going to take this hand, and the common mistake that most people try to make is they grab it like this, so then they're like, whoa! But that's not what you want to do. You want to invert this hand, so you have it like this, and you're going to go ahead and invert it. Like twist it upside down, and you're going to start to let the saber or the sword fall out of your hand a little bit, but then this back one's going to come up and grab it right on the back end like that. So it'll come up like this, and you'll come up and grab it like that, and then you carry it across. So right now we got your basic spin, come across, up, catch it with this hand, and then point it down again. Alright? You just go ahead and practice that, point it down. And now, before you were leading with the point to get across over here, now you're going to be leading with the hilt. So you imagine you're trying to hit somebody with the hilt, you're going to lead across your body and aim kind of like the sheath concept as before, where you're going to come and aim across right in there, okay? So you come across with the hilt, bring it back up, and you're going to catch it with this hand. It's kind of the exact same thing as over here, where you come up and down, except this time it's the reverse. So this hand is not going to be inverted, it's going to be right side up, and you're going to catch it right there, okay? So that's the whole spin right there. You got your basic, come across, catch inverted, come across, catch right side up vertical with the blade facing up, alright? So fast, or the speed that you're most comfortable with, should look something like this. Alright, so you got the right hand down. Now we're going to move over to the left hand, okay? So it's the exact same thing. You're just going to start off with that basic spin, get that nice and comfortable. It's the exact same thing, just let it fall through your fingers nice and easy. Let the weight do all the work. You got the same thing as the right side. Basic spin, come across, the blade's pointing up, vertical. You come, use this hand, catch inverted. You're going to spin it, come across with the hilt, back up, and catch. And that's all there is. So it's the exact same thing as the right side. So once you're comfortable with both sides, you can go from right to left. You can use both interchangeably. So how that looks is you start with the right, come across, and then when you're right here, you get to this point, nice and vertical, you're going to jump over to the left hand, go ahead, do your basic spin, come across, and now you're doing the left side. It's pretty simple. So full speed, this is what it should look like. Come across, spin, change, like that. Seamless. You don't even notice, but it looks great. So the Kong vault is probably my favorite vault. I just like the feel of it, of just kind of this sprawling, sort of, where your body just kind of feels like it condenses and then it springs out and you just keep running after it. It's an efficient way, I would say, if you can do it correctly, to get over obstacles pretty quick. Might not be as fast as a dash or a speed, but I would say it's definitely one of the best vaults out there, and to me, it's really easy. If there's something in front of me and I'm running at full speed, it's so easy to just immediately go hands down and right over it. I don't have to think about it a whole lot. I don't have to slow my steps or kind of work up to it at all. I just kind of go for it. So for me, it's my favorite because I can just adapt to it pretty quickly when an obstacle arises. The one problem that myself and I think other people have with it is it's harder, I should say, with height. So if you have an object that's like waist high or whatever, that's pretty much ideal for a Kong. But as you start to get a little higher, you're more pushing yourself up and doing kind of like a big arc like that, opposed to a nice rainbow type arc where you go over the object. So like in my examples right here, I'm just kind of rainbow arcing to get over nice and effectively and quickly. But if an object was too high, like let's say chest height or whatever opposed to weight height, then you're pushing more up or you're pushing down to go up. So you're trying to get more height, and if you're trying to carry speed and momentum across that doesn't work as well. So one of the ways you can get around that is if you have an object nearby, you can tic-tac off of that to get your hips nice and high up, so that way you can come down and keep going across it without killing all your momentum by going up. Another way is you can stick your foot on the obstacle, depending on what it is. If it's a rail, that might not work so well. If it's a wall, one thing I like to do is put my foot up on the wall with my hands at the same time, so I can kind of use my foot to get over faster. So that actually isn't really a Kong anymore. That can kind of transition to more into a cash vault. But I guess the only other way to get over a higher object using a Kong with still a decent amount of speed is more like a Kong assist or a Kong up. So you get up and get your feet on it, and once you have your feet on the top of the object, you can use that to spring off, so that way your momentum kind of goes sort of like that, opposed to just going like up and then down kind of. So what you do with a Kong assist is you get up, you get your feet on it, so that way you're still up, but then you use your feet to kick off of it like that, so that way it's kind of like dead momentum for a split second until you get your feet on, and then once you use your foot to do that, you can spring away a lot faster, opposed to just like trying to hurdle yourself like way onto the other side of it. So that's how you would do that. So the sex change, or also known as thread the needle, is more of a free running move, and I like it because it's just simple. You can use it landing from precision, you just go right into it onto the ground. It's something easy to do over short precision gaps. So obviously people are more dominant with one foot. I prefer to jump off of my right and hold my left foot when doing it. I think people should definitely work on both sides. I'm pretty decent with my opposite side, so I think the hardest part that people have with it is getting the flexibility, getting their foot nice and tucked up inside to get it through the hole that you create with your arm and your other leg. Yeah, that's definitely the hardest part, I would say, is when people are jumping off that one foot, if they haven't been like training with it a whole lot or strengthening it, you have half your jumping power essentially, because you're in an awkward stance, because you're holding your foot like this, so you're in an awkward stance to jump, and you're jumping off of one foot, so you have half the power. So I think people find that difficult, makes them a little tripped up, and then just being able to get your jumping foot through the loop that you create is difficult. I think once people get it, it's a great move, and I love it. Basically, the only way to just get better at it is to keep practicing, and if you need to bail, then you just bail, and like that's how I learned. So that's pretty much the best way to do it. There's not really any progression to it. You just kind of go for it or you don't, and if you make it, you make it. If you don't, you can always bail. It's totally safe. You're not gonna like land on your neck like you would doing a flip or anything. It's completely safe. You just release your foot if you need to bail, and then just land on both feet. One thing you could do is do it into water off of like a diving board or a dock or off the edge of a pool or whatever, and that would help you, so that way you don't bail and you can train your mind not to let go if you're scared that you're not going to make it, and you can focus on getting your foot all the way through, so that way you'll hit the water and it'll be a nice soft surface, you'll just go right through, opposed to hitting the ground where you won't go through. So that's pretty much the only progression, I would say, to learning the thread the needle. Otherwise, You just got to go for it. But I think overall people just got to learn that flexibility and gain the strength for their jumping legs. That's the best way to go about it. So the backflip or the back tuck, personally I would say it's the hardest flip to perform mentally, but physically I would say it's the easiest flip to do, because you can do it just standing. You don't need any momentum at all. Like if you do a round off, you can get double or triple or whatever, but just standing you can do it. You don't need height if you know what you're doing, and you can just go for it, and it's pretty simple. I think the biggest issue that I've seen people, like when teaching my friends how to do it kind of on trampolines or whatever, the biggest issue that they have is they don't commit. That like there's nothing you can really do. There's no progressions to committing. It's just totally mental, and you have to commit or not commit. If you're not going to commit, don't even try it, because you're going to land on your neck and hurt yourself. So yeah, I would say not committing is the number one biggest issue that people have. So how you progress to where you're comfortable to commit, obviously, is you can try on the ground. You do back rolls, so like a forward somersault roll, but backwards. Or you can do a backwards parkour roll where you come over your shoulder and just kind of get that motion of rolling backwards and feeling what that's like. It's kind of reverse in your brain, and it screws some people up, I think. But if you just get over that fear, then you can start to move on to mats where you can get nice high mats that are about shoulder height or whatever, maybe a little lower, and you just jump up and land backwards on your back on those. So you're not hurt at all. You're just landing on something soft. You find at gyms, gymnastics gyms or whatever. That's where people can go to find those. If they don't have that, mattresses would be the next best option. Those are a little lower, so they probably shouldn't jump quite as high. Just kind of get the feeling of rolling back and landing on it and tucking. But other than that, you just gotta understand the full movement of coming down and spotting the ground. Another mistake that people make, and I myself am guilty of this, is some people close their eyes when they do the flip. So that is not helpful for you spotting the landing, because that way you're just kind of just trusting that you're going to land. So you got to make sure that people are, they need to know to have their eyes open and to be looking back and spotting their landing when they're coming down. But basically, yeah, committing is the biggest thing, because like I said, it's the easiest flip physically, but it's the hardest flip mentally. So tons of people can do it if they learn the height that they need while getting the same amount of going backwards. Like if you're jumping off an object, you obviously need to go more backwards than you would on flat ground, so you don't hit the object that you're jumping off of. But once people kind of are comfortable and they know what they need to do, then just committing is the biggest issue. So mattresses and big tall mats are the best way to get around that. Just get comfortable, and then when you're ready for that, you can have somebody spot you, obviously, which is probably the best way to go. When somebody safely spots you, and you can they help you do your rotation and whatnot, and then once you're ready, and once again, there comes a point when it's just the person and the brain deciding if they're ready to commit or not. So that is my insight on backflips.